What's up, DIY Nation? Welcome back to UFloor, the channel bringing you tips and tricks to help you with your next flooring project. And it has been a while since we brought you a tutorial video. So today we're going to be installing laminate in this completely full house. So every room in this house needs to be installed except for the bathrooms, in which I've already put this LVP in there. All right, because it's waterproof. Now the laminate we got, they told us it was water resistant. I'm pretty sure it's not waterproof. I've installed a lot of proof, and pretty much the only thing I've seen that holds up to water is going to be the Pergo Outlast. And the only reason I bought this laminate here is because, in my opinion, it mimics the Pergo Outlast. The only difference is it doesn't have attached pad. Now I was able to get lucky and get some pad from A-Stock, and I got a great deal on that. So today we're going to start cutting all the door jambs and get this thing laid out, and I'm going to show you a couple tips and tricks on what it is that I do when installing my flooring to help make things a whole lot smoother. Alright, so if that's something you guys are into, hang on all the way to the end because you're not going to want to miss it. Alright, let's don't waste any time and jump right in. Let's go. Alright team, let's take a look at what we are about to do here. Over here, as you can see looking down this hall, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors, counting this one across here. I don't know if you're new to installing flooring or what, but one thing that can be an issue is when you have to install around this door jamb, around that door jamb, and then bring a plank down here and install back around on the inside of that. That, I'm going to tell you right now, it's impossible. There actually is no way to do that unless you cut the laminate and then you glue it together back in its track. So the only way to get this where it's going to be easy to install is we want to make sure that when we install this, we're splitting the piece of laminate that goes right here. So we only have to come in from one side, all the way down on one side, and then we can come in from the other side and piece it in. The way we're going to have to do that is we're going to get a laser out, set it up down here, set some boards and hook them all together, get some measurements. That way we know when we start up there in the front, by the time we get here, that board is going to fall in there. However, the first thing we need to do to get started on any of this is go grab a scrap plank and some pad, lay it down, and get these door jambs cut. I'll show you how to do that. Let's get started. Okay team, so this is the pad that I was talking about. Now if you look at this, you can see it has a very nice quality white pad on the bottom under there. So it's like I think it's 2 layers. So you have the white pad and then you have the foil on top of that. Plus it comes with the foil that stretches over the tape at the end back here. So it is really, I mean, I've been installing floors for at least 17 years. This, in my opinion, is a very good quality pad, and I got it. It's called a Maricue. You can find it on Amazon, and I'll leave a link for that. Alright guys, so I'm going to cut a piece of this off, go get a piece of laminate. We're going to go over here and start cutting our door jambs, and I'm going to show you a couple options you can do for cutting your door jambs to get started. Let's go. Alright team, so here we are, we're in the hallway. I have my piece of laminate, I also have my piece of pad, and I have a couple options of how to cut these door jambs that I want to go over with you. So if you're doing your own flooring and you need to cut the door jambs, and if you're asking why do I need to cut the door jambs, let me explain that part of it to you first. So take a look right here and you can see that this floor needs to go underneath this door jamb right here, and you can see I'm butting into it right now. The only way to get that underneath there is to cut this door jamb right here. Now, there are a couple ways you can do it. You can get a Japanese saw, or you can get an actual door jamb saw at Home Depot, Lowe's, or your favorite home store. And that thing, you can flip it around, and that way if you're doing right side or left side. In my opinion, those things are okay. They will do quite a few houses, but that spring wears out and it keeps flipping on you. If you have a regular saw like this one right here, you can come in and lay it flat like this and just go back and forth to cut that door jamb. You can see where I started making a mark. And that will slide up underneath there. If you're wanting to go a little bit faster and you have the means, this is an oscillating tool. It works great for this right here. We used to use a jam saw, but it created all kinds of dust. The only drawback to this thing, especially if you're in a customer's house, it is very, very noisy and it's very high pitched. So I'm going to show you how to cut this door jamb with this, and I won't talk while I do it. That way I can turn it down while I'm cutting. All right, you guys, come on in. Let's take a look at how this thing works. Alright guys, now once I have the pad in there, I can now take my wood and slide it underneath that door jamb. See how beautiful that's going to look when it's all said and done? Alright guys, that's pretty much how you cut it with an oscillating tool. Now there's a couple tips I do want to tell you when it comes to this. Two things. Number one, this tool vibrates, and it vibrates very, very fast. So in order to get the best efficiency out of it for cutting, try not to push really, really hard into what it is you're cutting. Some people think the harder I push, the more it's going to cut, and that is just not the case. The faster it vibrates, the faster it cuts. So let it do its magic and work it in there. And also, if you'll take the corner of the blade and dig it in first, generally that'll get you started, and then you can start flattening it out and run with the straight edge part of it for getting your cutting done. Alright guys, I got about 11 more doors to do, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to come back with you guys in just a little bit and check in with you once I get all these things cut, and then we'll show you where to go next. Alright, holla! Hey. Alright you guys, that is the last of the door jambs. I've got them all cut all the way through the whole house. The next step is to get my laser level and shine it down the middle of this hallway and see if I can't figure out how to get this floor laid out so that all my cuts go inside halfway in the doors, and then I can figure out how big my starter piece is going to be up there in the living room. That is the next step, so you guys hang with me and we'll get started in just a second. Let's go. Alright DIY Nation, so it is Monday again and we are back out at the AC01 remodel. So for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the progress, you can go check out our other channel, Rent This, Flip That, and like I said, I will leave a link down in this video for you to check that out, because we have done so much to this house. I literally just rebuilt the whole house. Studs, floor joists, band, subfloor, new insulation, new electricity. Lots of those projects are on the other channel, so if you're into DIY, you can go check that out. Alright, so today, to get started, here's an issue that we always run into when it comes to doing laminate or LVP around our doors. And so in order to get this where it's going to be easy for me to install, I need to start laying things out ahead of time, and then I'll be able to figure out how big my starter piece is over in the living room, because that is ultimately where I'm going to be starting. Now I'll be putting a control line all the way down here to keep myself on track, so that way when I travel into the other bedrooms, I want to make sure I meet here in the hallway where I'm supposed to. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go grab my laser, grab a couple pieces of laminate, click those together, and use those as a measurement. That's right. Believe it or not, with just a few boards and a tape measure, you can pretty much lay out your whole floor and how it's going to do without having to go to a calculator or a computer or anything like that. You may have to bust out a calculator, but hey, we all have one on our phone, right? All right, so let's not waste any time and dive right in. You guys, let's go. Okay team, so we are down here on the floor, and so what I want to do to get started is find the dead center of this hallway. Now there's a couple of measurements that we need to take, and some that you're not even going to be aware of that you might want to check as well. So first I'm going to try to find the center of this hallway. Now I will admit this, it may be an eighth off here at the front than it is in the back, or a quarter here and there, but basically we're trying to find the center. So once we find the center at several points, we'll go ahead and take our laser and shine it right down all of them, and then we'll find a general good point. And then when we're done with that, we'll check that line that we have with the front of the house. That way we can make sure that first piece we start in the front there is pretty much the same all the way down. We want to have the same reveal, or at least close to it, or be a little bit off if we have to adjust it just for this hallway. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take a few measurements. 39 and an eighth I'm going to go with right there. So half of that is, here's another trick real quick. If you don't know how to find the half of a number like 39 and an eighth, you just fold your tape in half, take the end of it and run it right there to 39 and an eighth. And I take a look up there at the top, and at the dead center I have, looks like 19 and 9/16. So that's what I'll go with here. That's 39 and a fat 16th, so I'll just keep it at 19 and 9/16 on that. Let's check it back here. Oh, it's a little fat back here, guys, so I have 39 and 3/8 back here. Let's find out what half of that is, and it looks like we are at 19 and 11/16. Let me double check that. 19 and 11/16. More like 5/8. All right, we're gonna go with 5/8. 9 and 5/8. Sometimes it's folded in half. It's hard to tell 16th from, you know, another one. But anyway, 5/8. All right, and then last down here, I don't really have something to work with, but I do have something I can get up underneath there with. Let's just go right there. And that's 39 and 5/16. So I'm going to try that 5/8 again. See how that goes. 39 and 5/8. 39 and 5/8, guys. I like it. All right, there you go. Now that we have our center marked all the way, I'm going to grab my laser level, set it up over here at the very end where the bar is, shine it down, and I'm going to pull off that both sides of my door up front and check it with that laser line and see if we can't get somewhere close to the same number. All right, guys, hang tight. All right, so I'm going to turn these lights off. That way you can actually see the laser level. Hold on, let's see. Now, even though I've turned all the lights off and I closed all the doors, because those windows in there shining a lot of daylight in there, and I can't get that one closed because something's behind there, you can see it's still a little bit hard to see. So that's where something like this comes into play. I like to grab something that's pretty bright white and use it as a marker all the way down. So I have found the center up there, I found the center in the middle, and I found a center up here, what I feel to be a pretty good compromise. And so we're going to check the front door with that as well. And so here's the three spots right here. The first one's right here. So you can see the laser level is, when I use the white board, you can see we're right on the edge of that crow's foot. And the reason we're not so tight is because that laser level is sensitive. I was tapping it with this and it was moving almost a ½ inch. When I got it really dialed in, I grabbed the pencil and I barely tapped it and we got it to right there. So let me show you the second one. Here's the second one. You can see that's pretty much right on the middle of that one. And then our last one down here, you can see that that is right on the edge of this side. So instead of moving the laser level back and forth, I found a pretty good consistent number right there. And at least I have my laser set up where I can check it with the front door. I'm going to do that now on both sides. Let's go. Alright guys, it's time to get this measurement up to the front. Now something that I ran into a problem is this wall right here. So this wall is in line with that side of the door. Alright, so check it out. I do have drywall on this side that I can measure to my laser line over here. But over here, the wall is in the way. So what I'm going to do is put this board in front of this so I have something to hook onto. Now, oh look, Kelly's come up with an idea. Look at this.
Measure from that.
Look at this. Look how genius. All right, skip all that. We're going to go with Kelly's idea. All right. So measuring off of this side. Sometimes she does come up with some doozies. All right, let's check this out. On this side of the door, here's our laser line. Look at that. We are at 160 and 7/8. Now it's a fat 7/8. And I'm pulling it pretty snug, so we're going to call that 7/8. 160 and 7/8. All right, let's check the other side. All right, 160 and 13 16ths. So that's it. That is a 16th off. Now I don't know if you guys know what a 16th is or not, but it's about the thickness of a fingernail, depending on whose fingernail you're measuring. But with that being said, up front, the board could be slightly twisted. The drywall could be protruded out just a little bit on one side. It doesn't matter. At a 16th, running all the way down this hallway and finding the center and being where I am right there on the front of the house, I'm completely happy with that, and I'm going with that. Now we need to move on to the next step, which is popping a line down here so that we can have a line that we don't have to keep on messing with the laser, and we can pull off of for future numbers, and also to find the center of the laminate so we can find out how big that starter piece needs to be. All right, guys, that's what's coming up next. Let's go. All right, you guys, I got 4 pieces of laminate laid down on the floor here. So here's a couple things we need to know when we're getting started. First of all, how wide is the laminate? Because that's going to tell us how big the piece can actually be that's going in and around these door jambs. This laminate is 7.5 inches. That's a good number. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either put the crack, the seam of a board in the middle and get a measurement and see if that's going to work for you, or you can put the middle of the board on the line and see what that gets you. So let's try it both ways. I feel like the crack's going to be probably the way to go, but anyway, looks like we got to go that way. That's in the middle. Now I probably have moved the back, so you just have to go back and forth and check it and make sure you're good with your laser. I like it all the way, yeah. All right, so now you guys can see I have the line right in the middle of that seam going all the way down. So let's check this side. Over here, from the drywall to the edge of this laminate, we have 4 5/8. And then over here on this side, we have 4 3/4. That's okay. Remember, like I told you guys, the drywall may be protruding out just a little bit here out there. The trim may be just a little bit twisted or thick or whatever. But we do have a consistent number. Let's go down here and check and see what we have to this one. From here to the center, we have 19.5. And to the center on here, we have 19.5. Dead center. So I'm not mad at that at all. I feel like with the way it is up there, the way it is here, the way it is on my line up there on both sides of the door, I like that. All right, so at 7.5, the next piece that would go in at 7.5 hits right there. So, with that being said, we literally can go with a whole board right there, and that should be the same on both sides. Now, just for fun, just to be, hey, what would be the other way? Let's go ahead and check that too. So we need to find the center of a board and put that on our laser line. Let's do that now. All right, guys, let's take a look. I'm not going to go through a whole lot of measuring just to show you what it would look like. Let's just take a look and you can see for yourself. All right, so you can see, guys, it's right there in the middle of the board. All right, so anyway, with that being said, that being the middle of where the board would be, over here, if I have a piece of baseboard, and I do have one right here, look at the tiny little piece that I would have there if I was decide to go that way with putting the board in the middle. And all I'm going to gain out of that is wrapping it around this side. The only benefit of that is there is none. That does not sound like fun to me, because when I get over here on this side, look at the pieces that I'm going to have to slide in here. Every one of them will have to have a little piece that comes in and wraps around and goes that way. And that's what we're trying to avoid to begin with. That's why we're even doing this. We want to have a half piece go in there so that we can come in from the other side and click the other half in. It's way easier to put 2 pieces of laminate in together in 2 pieces. And that goes for going this way too on the ends when you're going to the doorways. Sometimes you can't help it because you have so many doors, but you try to lay it out that way so that it makes it easier on you in the future. All right, so now we have that set up. Let's go ahead and get that laser set back up so we can show you what it is on the front and get that first piece figured out so we can start laying this floor. Let's go. All right, you guys, I have a line snapped all the way down. It's a black line, so it's pretty noticeable as far as being able to check numbers back and forth. But I have 7 planks laid out, right? So checking that out right there, you can see that laser line is in the dead center of the black crack right there, and it's also in the middle of the black crack right there. And now the other reference point we have is this distance right here. We know that 7 pieces of laminate together. All right, so I have 52 and 3/8 right here, and that lets me know how big 7 planks clicked together are. So I can use that number to step it off towards the front until I get close enough where I can measure and find out how big that starter piece needs to be. And I'll show you how that goes right now. All right, so with 52 and 3/8 right there, I'm going to go ahead on this side and measure 52 and 3/8 because it was from crack to crack. 52 and 3/8 right there. All right, now I'm going to have Kelly hold me on that. So I'll mark 52 and 3/8 over here. And 52 and 3/8 from this mark over here. All right. All right, so now I'm going to go grab my straight edge and mark this across. That way I can check both sides of the door and we can step off the rest of them based on the measurements of the boards that are already put together over there. Let me grab a straight edge. I'll be back. Now let's check in. All right. So from here, from the door to the straight edge, we have, looks like 41 1/16. Nice. And here we have 41, and that is that 16th that we accounted for. That's pretty crazy to get that number consistently all the way. All right, if I tried to cheat this way, a 16th for the 3 foot of the door right here, I would literally take myself a 1/4 inch to 3/8 down there off. So we're just gonna go with this. All right, let's go. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to move the laser level in here, put it on this line, and make double sure that this is pretty consistent all the way down. Because, like I just said with the 16th, it may be off that way too much, but let's check it. All right, you guys, as a floor installer, this is very good news, and it's very exciting. So I wanted to take you through and show you what's going on here. Kelly, show them this light right here. I have the laser set up on that red mark we made with the straight edge, and if you take a look all the way through, you can see where the line is in reference to that straight edge, and that goes like that all the way down. Okay, so I have this mark right here, and I want to show you with my tape measure where the laser is. Okay, because we have to adjust it just a little off our red mark there to where my laser is right now. That's okay, because look right here. You see that? That's 4 and almost 5/8, just a little bit past the 9/16, 41. And then if you come down here on this, look at that. Right past the 9/16 into the 41. Man, we're dead up. So that 16th over there didn't play a part in our being straight across here at all. So now we need to lay out our pad and get started. But first, we need to find out what that first board's going to be. So let's go ahead and get a measurement up here, and we can pull that off of our boards that we have connected up there. Let's take a look. Now we do need to leave a 1/4 inch expansion gap back there because we're doing laminate. With that being said, I'm just going to go straight up with, let's do for my 1/4 inch, we will need to go, let's go with 41, and I'm going to go with 41 and 5/16. I feel safe with that, 41 and 5/16. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, so here they are all put together, right? So now I want to come over here to the front and pull from this crack 41 and 5/16. And why am I pulling from the crack? Because that's where that red mark is that we made up there, which simulates where a crack is. So at 41 and 5/16 right here, I really don't need to make a mark down there. There's no point in that. All I need to do is measure from this crack to that red mark. My starter piece over there needs to be 3 7/8 of an inch. I don't know if you guys can see that mark or not, but it's right there. All right, and that's pulling 41 and 5/16 from there to there. All right, now that we have our starter piece number, that gets us down the center of the hallway. That gets our door jambs taken care of, so we don't ever have to wrap around any of those on either side. And that also lets us know how big that starter piece is going to be. So with all that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so we have our number inside. It was 3 7/8. Now remember, that is from the face. That is not from the tongue. That is from the face. So we want to make sure we're measuring from that. I think I'm going to use the tongue side. That way I don't have to worry about the groove side. just getting hung up on my fence or anything like that. This sits a little bit higher, so let's go with that. All right, team, so Kelly is inside rolling out the underlayment. Now it has this foil piece right here, and you can see that is at the bottom of this. So it makes sense that that would just roll. You take the tape that's on the other side over there, and you can see there's a white strip. When you take that off, it's a sticky little membrane that sticks to that right there. All right, so we got our starter pieces cut, and as soon as Kelly gets this laid out to where it needs to go so we can get our first couple rows started, we can go ahead and do that. I will go ahead and tell you this. Where we are going to be started up there, I made a mark off the line right here where our laser was shining down the hall, and I put it in reference with this one over here and calibrated and got myself a line snapped right here. Now this right here is going to be what I would call my control line. How that's going to work is, since I have a line going all the way down the hallway right here, I can pull off that line to this line that's right here, and whatever that number is, I can pull that line into the bedrooms, in each bedroom in there, and I think it's like 41 or something like that. But anyway, with that being said, after I get that number inside the bedroom, then I can pop a line all the way across those and then pull off that line to be the same starter that we did over here. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but once I get the numbers clarified as to what they actually all will be, we'll probably be able to go through the video here and we'll all just remember what they are together, and should be pretty easy. All right, I'm gonna quit talking and get over here and get on the floor and get these starter pieces started and show you how to get this first couple rows started. All right, you guys, looks like that's going to do it. So coming up on our next video, I'll show you how to start your first couple rows. Now, if you guys have ever installed Pergo Outlast, you'll understand that after you get that first row in, when it comes to clicking that second row in, sometimes it can be a beast and your end wants to pop back, your seams want to come open. So I have a couple tricks that I want to show you on that. So make sure you go and click on this video right here if you're having that kind of issue and you need help and tips with that type of stuff. All right, guys, looks like that's going to do it for me on this one, and I hope to see you on the next one. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Peace.